Welcome to the Assembling Inclusion podcast. On this show, we feature different programs, individuals, and initiatives focused on being more inclusive of individual needs. We invite you to learn right alongside us. If you want some additional resources or access to our courses, please visit our website or follow us on social media. But for right now, let's get right to the episode. Coming up next on the Assembling Inclusion podcast.
After the age of 21, once they no longer get the benefit of going to a structured school, we see larger rates of social isolation, sadly, and then depression. And so providing them with a location where they can go and be a part of a community that's welcoming to them and as inclusive as possible and wants to work with them to grow and develop however they want the program to develop, it is huge for us.
In today's episode, we interviewed Jacob Corey, who is one of the co-founders of Happy Valley FitLink, which is an inclusive wellness program. Jacob and I had a really great conversation about the benefits of fitness for all athletes, the way his program is structured and how it was created, and how it has benefited the athletes who are participating in the program. So let's dive right into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome back to the Assembling Inclusion podcast. I'm here today with Jacob Corey. He's one of the co-founders of Happy Valley FitLink. Jacob, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me, Katie.
Can you just explain the Happy Valley FitLink program for our listeners?
Happy Valley FitLink is an inclusive wellness program for individuals with disabilities. Primarily right now, we're working with individuals with intellectual disabilities, but we also do work with some individuals with a little bit more physical, but again, primarily it's intellectual disabilities, Down syndrome, autism, some cerebral palsy, and then some individuals with traumatic brain injury. And our program provides free inclusive fitness classes for individuals. And we have 3 different versions of classes that we offer. We have a cardio drumming class that's offered on Wednesdays. That is both virtual and in person during fall and spring. And then during summer, just due to the increase of travel, we go completely virtual. And then we have a in-person class on Saturdays that we have at our local YMCA in State College, where our program was originally founded. And then on Sundays, we offer a virtual Zoom class. And then we also periodically throughout the year will offer wellness seminars for individuals and their family members to come to. And again, those are all free. And we typically try to do those virtual as well, just to decrease any geographic barriers to being included in the program.
I like that you're trying to include people from all over, which I think is great for community building, especially. Mm-hmm. And I want to touch on that part later, the part about what does a Zoom class look like versus a traditional in-person class. But before we get into that, what was your inspiration for starting this program?
My inspiration for the program, I had the idea when I was a senior at Penn State. I was a kinesiology major, or exercise science for listeners that may not have attended university with that option. So basically, I was studying everything physical activity. And my senior year, well, my entire time through college, I was volunteering with a life skills program on campus, which was a very unique program that allowed individuals with disabilities from the local high school that were in their life skills classroom to come and attend Penn State classes and sit in on classes and take classes in some cases for credits with a Penn State mentor who was volunteering with them. And so I was a Penn State mentor, and I was doing it since I was a freshman at Penn State and absolutely loved the program that I was volunteering with there. And through interacting with the director of that program, she had asked me about physical activity opportunities just for them at Penn State. And then through different parent meet and greets that we had and interacting with the parents, they had also asked me just in passing, what options does my son or daughter have to go and do different physical activity type things that you're talking about, that you're doing in your everyday life around the community. And we obviously have a Special Olympics, which is a wonderful program and very large in State College. But when it came to other more traditional, like fitness and wellness, like gyms and things like that, as I started to contact local gyms and different programs, it became evident that there really was a need for inclusive wellness, because a lot of the gyms they either weren't comfortable working with individuals that had disabilities due to a perceived risk of, I don't exactly know, but just perceived risk of either injury or just more difficulty in programming exercises for individuals that really just require a bit different mentality to make sure that everything's adaptable and everybody can be included in the program. So from that point, unfortunately, she wasn't able to make the podcast, but my other co-founder, Jana, she is still a professor at Penn State, and she has a PhD in adaptive sport. And I had taken, I think, every class that she had offered. And one of them was called Disability Sport, where we actually learned to program a inclusive wellness program, exactly like Happy Valley Fitling. So I approached her and basically said, hey, I'm interested in starting and organizing this program. Or are you interested in helping? And from there, I mean, she was interested, and we just started working with different resources within the kinesiology department. And then we had our first class in January, right before the pandemic started. I think we had maybe 4 classes in total, and then the pandemic came, and so we were pushed online, and that really caused us to reevaluate what our mission was. It caused us to become much more inclusive as a program, because we were able to offer classes to individuals across the entire country.
I like how you connected what you were learning from your own experiences through the mentorship program at your university, and then plus with your classes in your department, which is really great. I didn't know that colleges offered classes that connected disability to exercise.
One huge thing that I was so grateful for that Penn State did offer, because I'm not sure how many colleges actually do offer classes such as that. I mean, it was wonderful to have somebody as knowledgeable as Jana on the faculty to be able to teach a class like that.
So you had mentioned that there are a variety of different classes that you offer. There are some virtual because of the pandemic, having to go virtual, and then you're still continuing the virtual. But before we get into the virtual component, what are the in-person classes? You said they're held at different locations.
We have 2 partner organizations within State College. The Grace Lutheran Church is one of our partners, and then so is the State College YMCA. At the Grace Lutheran Church on Wednesdays, we'll offer a cardio drumming class, which is one of our most popular classes. We typically see anywhere from 20 to 30 friends of ours coming to join the classes and participate with us. And that class, for individuals that aren't familiar with cardio drumming, I kind of equate it to a Zumba class, where we will have different music. We'll have a theme for the week, and we'll pick out different music that is specific to that theme. And then we work with Penn State kinesiology interns and work with them to choreograph different drumming movements that are focused on total body fitness. It's similar to a Zumba because you're following along with the instructor as they do a series of specific moves that are choreographed to the song.
See, I'm glad you explained it, because when I saw it, I was like, I wonder what that would entail. And that really puts it into perspective that it's kind of like Zumba. So they're like following along, and that's getting the whole body workout through that like drumming.
Yep, exactly. And so then we typically use pool noodles that we cut to like right around 18, somewhere between 12 to 18 inches. And then we put a yoga ball on top of a 5-gallon bucket, and we will go through and do it that way. And there's tons of different ways that you could build your quote unquote drum. And then our other in-person class is offered at the YMCA. That's on Saturdays. And that class, we've designed that one to be more of a kind of class where we do a wide variety of themes of typical exercise classes that you would see if you went to one of your local gyms. So we'll do yoga classes, we'll do HIIT classes. This past weekend, I led a kickboxing class. So we try to do a wide variety of classes to give everybody exposure to things that they may not have had the opportunity to do yet. And then the goal of that is also that if they're interested in participating in that more, the YMCA does offer many of the similar classes, so that if they were to want to participate in more physical activity, they would be able to attend some of the classes that the Y offers.
Oh, that's a nice partnership. It's like you're giving them exposure to the different types of classes that are available. They can become a little bit more comfortable with it if they've never done it before, and then transition into if they wanted to do a little bit further type
Exactly. Yeah.
program.
And we haven't had anybody, to my knowledge, that have gone to the group classes, but I do know a couple of our friends that they did get memberships at the Y with their families, and they'll come on additional days to participate in physical activity with either friends or mom, dad, something like that, which is great to see them getting out and participating in the gym, which could be, I mean, for anybody, a very intimidating place when you're new.
Oh, yeah, I would say definitely. So that's great that now they have that confidence to be able to go in and feel comfortable and work out and get that experience.
And I think it's also great to see just having individuals come in that you typically wouldn't see in a traditional fitness setting. You could break the stigma down for other people without a disability, because I feel like a lot of times, and I'll even catch myself doing it, we have a lot of preconceived thoughts about what somebody's able to do, and kind of like those ableist thoughts that are really, I mean, something that ideally we work towards as a society to kind of break down. But even interacting with other people at the YMCA and hearing about how it's changed their perspectives on what individuals with disabilities are able to do in the fitness setting is just, it's wonderful to talk to people and see how their perspective has changed as they've seen our classes.
There's a lot of community growth then in mindset in terms of what people can do. And I could see how that could make things way more inclusive going forward.
Definitely.
So how are the Zoom sessions structured then? So you talked about the in-person classes and having people come in to the various locations to take the classes, but how does it work over Zoom?
Our Zoom classes are set up a little bit different because our in-person, one thing I forgot to mention is we do work with Penn State's kinesiology volunteers and other students from Penn State that are interested in fitness, where they'll also come in for added support. So we have different students kind of walking around our class to make sure if somebody needs a different variation of an exercise that we're doing, that they have that one-on-one attention if they were to need it. And then it also just works because you have more individuals in the class, so there's just more stuff going on, so it's a little bit more engaging and more people to talk to and form relationships with. So our Zoom classes are set up a little bit different because obviously we can't be in the house with the individual, but what we tend to do is we'll use a PowerPoint presentation, and in our PowerPoints we will record little images of the GIFs, so the moving images that showcase a wide variety of variations. So we may have one version that's a standing jumping jack that is the traditional version that you would see. We would have another that is a stepping to the side jumping jack. And then we may have another variation of the jumping jack that could be done in a seated position. And so we'll have all of those variations pictured on the screen so that anybody that's coming to the class can view them on the screen. And then from there, if there's any other variations that are needed or cues that are needed, we try to have at least 2 instructors in the class that will then, oh, hey, like Katie, if you could try it this way, this may work better for you, or shout different things out. And it's actually great to see we have one of our friends that joins us every week. She's been coming for so long that she's taken on a leadership role where she'll be able to kind of shout out like, hey, try this instead, like this works better for me, or try to do this, watch me do this, which is wonderful to see somebody step into more of a leadership role. And we're now working with her this summer to give her some more opportunities to lead some sections of the Zoom class, because we still have our cardio drumming. We'll do like 1 to 2 cardio drumming songs and then go into our whatever the theme of the week is for our exercise. So this week again was kickboxing, because we try to align it pretty similar to what we did in person, so everybody gets a very similar experience.
I really like that you have a student that's becoming more of a teacher within that capacity. That's really great. That she's recognizing what works for her and could work for others. So they're all on camera as they do this. So I think they're interacting with each other that way too.
Every Zoom starts off with about 5 to 10 minutes of just talking, catching up, seeing how everybody's doing, just because we do try to promote that community, and it's much easier in person. I will have to say, because it's easier to walk around and form a connection with somebody when they're right there in front of you in person. But we do try very hard online to ask different icebreakers, follow up with people if they had a job interview, to see how the job interview went, and then try to promote and facilitate relationships with new participants that are joining us so that they feel like they're a part of our community, because that's overall the goal, is to make everybody feel as if they're welcomed and that they could freely express themselves however that is that they express themselves, and just be welcomed in the community that we're trying to form.
The community aspect seems like it's a really nice component. Obviously the exercise is beneficial too, but I like that it's a community in addition to the physical activity.
Yeah, the exercise is definitely was the original reason that John and I wanted to form it, but I think that we would both agree at this point that the community is something that's so much more valuable at this point. I mean, the physical activity is one thing, but we also have some friends of ours that come in and they don't really love to participate in the physical activity, but they like to be a part of the camaraderie in the group. So they'll watch, but they'll talk as we do stuff, which is also wonderful for us, just to provide that for individuals.
It's still just as beneficial, definitely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you have people joining in then from, obviously the in-person is probably a local community. Do you have people joining in from Zoom from like other locations as well?
We do actually. We have a wide range. One of our friends joins us from California. One of our friends joins us from Michigan, another one from Delaware, another one from Tennessee. Actually, we have one of our friends, she moved from State College to Tennessee and still joins us there. And then we'll have some friends, they go on to different college programs at like Slippery Rock. One of our friends, he goes there and sometimes he'll join over Zoom, or like we saw him at a special programming pickleball event that we ran 2 weekends ago. And it's always great to hear how things are going and catch up and things like that.
That's nice that there's still that connection to the community, even if you're doing something else or going somewhere else. So that's great that they still continue to come back. So you had mentioned at the beginning that you also have, in addition to the courses, you also do wellness seminars. Mm-hmm. So what types of topics are typically covered in those types of sessions?
So typically we do one 15-week long seminar that we do with the life skills program that is on Penn State's campus. And we'll go in and have short mini lectures on a wide variety of just different topics that are important for general overall wellness. So how do you manage stress, nutrition, importance of physical activity, obviously, things like hygiene, relationships, how to navigate kind of your scheduling of your responsibilities and then maintaining a social life, things like that. And so we really just go through all of your pillars of wellness. And then we also do try to organize, depending on the interests of the interns that we're working with, some educational seminars that are open to everybody, wherever they may be located, through Zoom. And we've tried to do ones based in nutrition for that, again, physical activity importance, and still the same holistic topics, but more so of whatever the interest of our intern is, so that it's something that they also get a good learning experience out of, and they feel confident when they are presenting, because it can be intimidating sometimes to get up and present to a group, even if it is over Zoom. And then we've talked about the possibility of doing ones and trying to partner with different groups that are more local to State College, like possibly doing one on Shoe Fit and getting a local like shoe shop down in State College to come in and talk about the importance of proper shoe fit. And then if you are very physically active, like how often do you change your shoe, and things like that are just things that you may not think about it all the time, but are important to consider.
Oh, those sound really interesting. I didn't think about the shoe thing. And I'm like, that's probably something you should know if you are very physically fit. And I like that you're building partnerships with the community in that regard as well.
The community is definitely wonderful. I mean, and everybody's interested in jumping in and partnering however they can, which is always great to see the different relationships that we're forming.
So you kind of gave me some examples of how this program has been beneficial overall. Are there any other examples you have about how someone has positively benefited from participating in the program?
I think that beyond the benefits of physical activity that we would typically think of, which I think are some of the smaller benefits that you see by participating in the program. I think the more important ones are the formation of friendships and fostering relationships that have already been formed in different settings, like such as like the life skills classroom that I volunteered with, but it's still being able to see those friends now that they've graduated and having a place to go and something to look forward to and something that's unique to your experience and takes into consideration you as a person and wants to just do things that you're interested in and works towards your growth and development as well. Like when we talk about the leadership experiences that our one friend starting to come into, I mean, that's something that John and myself love to see, that because she's now going to be able to take on a leadership role in the program and really make some of the exercise classes her own and help to inspire other friends that are joining us for class, which I think is just wonderful and just great.
So you talked a little bit about the expansion of the program with regard to working with other organizations within the community. Do you have any other plans in the works for how to expand the program in the future?
Yeah, we do. We're actually in the process of filling out our 501c3 application to submit to the IRS. We've already become a corporation in Pennsylvania, but our goal is to become a nonprofit corporation so that we're able to get some grant funding so that we have a little bit more funds to be able to use to expand the program. Because at this time, it's just me and Jana that are kind of funding it with any extra money that we have or when needed, things like that. I've gotten a grant from one of the organizations in State College called 3 Dots, which was very helpful to us because it allowed us to buy some of the equipment that was just instrumental in getting our cardio drumming classes online to provide access for our friends that are located in different parts of the country. So we would definitely like to have the ability to get some grant funding. And then we're also starting to work with the local school district, the State College Area School District, and we're going to start to branch out and work more with younger individuals, so adolescents and young children, and hopefully start to kind of make physical activity more of a everyday thing, or at least give them the opportunity to experience some of the things that we provide with the physical activity classes, or possibly coming to some of our special programming events, such as like a rock climbing event or like a pickleball event, or we're doing like fly fishing this coming weekend. So just having the opportunity to do that and just know that we're there, we're in the community if they're interested in joining into our classes, or even if not, if they just want to come and be a part of the community and not do any of the physical activity at all, that's also perfectly fine.
Those all sound like great expansion ideas. The funding part is probably huge, right? Because it's entirely free. There's no cost to anybody for participating.
There's no cost to anybody for participating. And that's huge to John and I, because there's already so many barriers to participating in physical activity as it is for anybody, not even individuals with disabilities, but just our whole general population. When you look at physical activity trends, everybody, not everybody, I don't want to, but a great majority of our society is very physically inactive. And part of that has to do with how our society is structured. There's lots of barriers to physical activity. And when you look at physical activity rates of individuals with disabilities, they're even lower than our general population, which is sad to see, because there's a lot of benefits that come from physical activity that go beyond just the typical health benefits that we think of. There's a lot of psychosocial benefits, formation of a community. Like if you look at like CrossFit and things like that, like that's a community. If you meet a CrossFitter, they're diehards. And I mean, that's great to see that that's the community that they're in. They form so many different relationships from engaging in the gym that go far beyond just working out in that gym. And that's something that we're really interested in creating for our group, because the ability to form and make new friendships is huge, especially for individuals with, in this case, intellectual disabilities, who after the age of 21, once they no longer get the benefit of going to a structured school, we see larger rates of social isolation, sadly, and then depression. And so providing them with a location where they can go and be a part of a community that's welcoming to them and as inclusive as possible and wants to work with them to grow and develop however they want the program to develop is huge for us.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing more about what Happy Valley FitLink does in the future, because I can see that, I mean, there's so much growth and expansion already, and you have all those great ideas for where it's going to go in the future. And you already seem to have an amazing community built. So I can only imagine that it's going to get even larger from this point going forward. But I want to thank you so much for everything that you're doing. I think this is a great program, and I'm sure our listeners are really interested in how it's going to continue to grow and progress. So I just want to thank you, Jacob, so much for being here with us today.
Oh yeah, no, thank you so much. And if any of your listeners have any questions about programming something similar, or if they are in school systems and they're interested in doing some sort of physical activity thing within their classroom or anything like that, I mean, they should feel happy to reach out to our Gmail or find us on Instagram, Happy Valley FitLink, and we're happy to meet up with them and work on programming and talking them through how to do something similar.
I will link for everybody the email and then the social media handles in the show notes. That way they have easy access.
Yeah, that'll be awesome.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Assembling Inclusion podcast. I hope the information in this episode taught you something new, gave you a new idea, or showcased a new perspective. If you liked the episode, feel free to leave us a review or comment. If you have a recommendation for an individual or an organization who would make a great guest, you can message us on Twitter or Instagram, or send us an email at assemblinginclusion@gmail.com. See you next time.